What's going on, guys? Justin with 1791. Today we're going to do another educational piece, and today we are specifically talking about how to use a whetstone to sharpen a knife. So let's get into it. Alright folks, so the thing that made me want to do this video is, like, I've been seeing so many ads lately of all of these like fancy knife sharpening kits that have like all the different angles pre-described, and now there's this one that has this block that you stick your knife to, and then you like roll this little sharpening stone back and forth on a drum, and it looks really neat. But like, gosh, like, where has the art gone of using a good old-fashioned whetstone to sharpen a knife? So I want to go ahead and do that for you guys today. I have been using a whetstone to sharpen a knife since I was like a young teenager. I've been perfecting this craft for a long time. So I'll use just one of the knives I have here. So I have this Benchmade 162. It's in one of our Frontiersman knife sheaths, so I'll go ahead and pull that out. This actually does have a pretty good edge on it right now, but I'm going to go ahead and ruin that so that we can get the full experience. So just go ahead and just be mean to this thing. This like hurts my heart to do. Oh yeah, that's nice and dull now. So just for reference, so everyone knows that we're not cheating here, go ahead and grab a piece of paper. Yeah, it's good and dull, folks. That is good and dull. Alright, so first off, I like to put just like a towel or something underneath my whetstone, just because I don't like to get stuff everywhere, and I like to use olive oil. The reason why I like to use olive oil as my my lubricating compound for the stone is because it's a edible material that obviously I'm not going to get like some sort of like chemical contaminant on my blade. For instance, like I used to just use like motor oil. I don't use motor oil anymore just because like that can it can put some chemical contamination into the knife. Obviously in small trace amounts, but I mean, if I can use olive oil, then why not just use olive oil? So what I'm doing right now is I'm just evenly spreading the lubrication across the face of the stone, and I'm not going to use the roughing side. I don't think I need to use the roughing side. Basically, this is the rough grit and this is the fine grit on this side. I just knocked the edge down. I didn't like completely ruin it. If I were starting from scratch and having to rebuild a complete edge from scratch, or if I was like hand making a blade, I would want to use the roughing side. So what I like to do is I like to find the angle first. And if you look at your knife's edge, there are multiple planes and angles. You have your parallels, which run along the spine of the knife. And then you have your initial bevel, which leads down to your main cutting edge. So there's your main cutting edge, and then there's another final angle on top of that. So you have your main bevel, and then your cutting edge bevel, and then you have your final cutting edge with it, which is a final angle. And when you're sharpening your knife, what you're essentially trying to do is you're trying to match that main cutting edge angle, and you can feel it. So what I like to do is I like to place the knife on the stone, and I like to apply some pretty good pressure. And as you tilt the knife back and forth, you can find that cutting edge. Once I have found that cutting edge, I'm just going to keep some firm pressure, and I'm going to make small circles all the way back and forth. Obviously, be careful when you're doing this. Don't cut yourself. All the normal stuff that you would come to expect. Like, just don't be a fool. One thing that I like to do is I like to pinch the edges of the stone on either side with my thumb and my index finger. Just helps keep it stable. And I keep the height of my hand lower than the knife, so I'm not going to like slice my finger or something when I'm doing these small circles. So I'm just working these small circles. I'm just kind of polishing that edge back into place. That's what I want you guys to think of when you're doing this. You're not necessarily like, you're not grinding it or anything like that. I'm just gently polishing this edge back into place the way it's supposed to be. Just making those small circles. So I just did that for a little while, and I can look at the edge and I can see it's getting pretty well polished. So I'm just going to flip over to the other side now. I'm going to find my angle again, just kind of tilt it back and forth, and you can feel it. Once I've hit that, I'm just going to keep doing my circles again. I like to work the entire edge of the stone, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You don't want to just stay on the same rhythm the entire time, because what you'll end up doing is you'll destroy your stone. You will work like a saddle into it. Actually, let me grab my dad's old stone just to show you. This is my dad's old whetstone that he gave me. Notice how it's got like a saddle cut into it, just because there had been continuous work in one direction, you know what I mean? Or back and forth, back and forth. That's why I like to do the circles, and I work the entire surface of the stone. That way I'm going to minimize damaging the stone and just extend its service life. So I'm just going to keep working those circles back and forth, up and back and forth across the edge of the stone. Now, I've talked to a lot of people about knives and knife sharpening, and some pretty well-known, or not necessarily well-known, well, yeah, some of them well-known. I've talked to quite a few cats about knife sharpening over the years, and one person I was talking to is a pretty accomplished outdoorsman. He flat out said, I don't sharpen my knives just because, like, I don't want to take the time. And for me personally, I think that's kind of cheating. I feel like any well-known and well-rounded outdoorsman you should be a jack of all trades. Like, just like the days of the pioneers. Like in the days of the pioneers, like, they made their own knives, they sharpened their own knives. They would hunt and they would process their own game, and they would garden and they would harvest. They would harvest their own animals. Then they would turn that harvested meat into a variety of different things that you can eat on. Like, they would make salt pork. They would render the fat down into tallow, and then they'd use the tallow to make pemmican and all of these things, these lost arts. The things that really kind of made Americans was just the versatility and the resilience of the people that kind of made this country what it is. So this is going to sound harsh, but, like, to me, if you're not willing to, like, sharpen knives or learn how to sharpen knives, like, you're kind of giving up on a little bit of your ancestry there, because that's kind of a part of what made us win the West, is dudes being able to do many things. So I'm still just working those circles. You notice how the oil is starting to turn dark, kind of blackish gray. That is metal. That's material. That's not the stone, because the color of the stone, the fine edge is actually, it's like red. But this has been sharpened on so many times, the top of it is kind of turned gray from that very finely powdered metal that I'm removing from the edge. So you don't have to do this a lot to get a good edge. I'm doing this particularly because I was kind of mean to the edge. I scraped it across the rough edge and I completely knocked my edge off. So I'm kind of repolishing the whole thing back into place. Make sure you get that tip sharpened too, because, like, especially if you go into, like, if you're gutting an animal or doing some fine work, or let's say, like, you're working on some natural materials that you're working with in the wild, maybe you're working some leather, it's important to have a very good fine tip. So make sure you get that tip sharp. There's a lot of different types of cutting edges too. Like this Benchmade Bushcrafter, this is what you would very much call a utility edge. A utility edge is going to be more obtuse versus being acute. A like a cooking edge or like a kitchenware type of edge is going to be much more acute or more fine. I kind of like that utility edge just because it's going to hold its edge for a longer period of time. It's going to be able to go through a lot more mechanical work before it gets damaged and gets dull. That really fine edge for like kitchenware, it doesn't really lend itself really well to field work. So it's okay to have, like a fillet knife is a great example of something with a really acute kind of like a kitchen level edge versus a utility edge. Basically, any bushcrafting knife ought to have more of a utility edge, and anything that is like really fine-tuned work, like a boning knife. A boning knife is okay to have more of an acute, kind of like a kitchen edge to it. But you're just going to have to manage that edge a lot more and sharpen it more. Something that's not a bad idea to have is a leather strop. I have an old school leather strop that I'll use on occasion, but it's really good to have a leather strop just to like kind of do the final finishing edge, or if you need to do like some quick edge maintenance on more of a like a kitchen level of edge like that, the more acute edge. It's good to strop that every once in a while just to kind of keep that edge in tip-top shape. Because part of the safety of a knife, in my opinion, is having a razor sharp edge, or having an edge that is very sharp and does what it's supposed to do. Because when knives stop doing what they are supposed to do, then people put extra force and extra pressure on the knife, and then that gets dangerous because then you end up pushing through a cut that you didn't intend to, and then you're going to get stitches. So, all right, I'm going to wipe off some of that oil real quick and just kind of like see what my edge is starting to feel like. Oh yeah, I'm starting to get it back already. Did not take very long. So right now I'm feeling that I do have a bit of a catch in the edge. That tells me that I have kind of worked that edge back a little bit. Or worked it back into place. So now I'm going to start kind of doing like some of the finishing techniques to get my edge where I want it. So what I like to do is I like to start at one edge, and what you're going to do is you're working on the final cutting edge now. Remember I said earlier that there's multiple angles. You have your parallels, which are along your spine, and then you have your initial bevel right there. You have your initial bevel. And then you have your main cutting edge angle right there. Basically, that's the really shiny part of the edge that you can see. It kind of glints in the light. And then your final cutting edge is actually a little bit slightly different angle, and that's is one that I like to get that edge in a very fine fashion. I like to do it very gently. So I'll just set the edge on one end of the stone, and then I'm just going to drag that knife gently across that stone. It's a slightly different angle, like I said before, than the last cutting edge that we just polished back into place. So I'm just going to drag that back and forth, kind of gently. Essentially, maybe just a little bit more pressure than the weight of the knife is all I'm doing. Just kind of basically making an X pattern. I only say that because I can start to see an X developing in my in the oil of the stone. Just a few times, nothing crazy. So I'm going to clean off some of that oil and recheck the edge again. Oh yeah. I believe I've got that back. So I'm going to really kind of clean up the oil now. Set that aside. Just because, number one, I don't like the way it feels on my hand. and I don't want it on my handle. And I also want to get it off the blade now, because otherwise it's going to do weird things when I try and cut something. All right, let's go ahead and test it on some paper. They say that cutting paper with a knife's edge is not good for it. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know how scientifically proven that is, but just to test the edge, it's not a bad idea to just use some paper. There we go. I would say we got that edge back. Yeah, we got that edge back for sure. Nice clean cuts straight through. You can shave hair as well, but as you can see, if I start shaving hair, I'm going to start looking pretty weird since I have a lot of hair on my arms, so I don't really like to shave my hair anymore. But yeah, that's how you do it with a whetstone, guys. The big high points are kind of like the takeaways, kind of going back to the main notes. First off, like start off with a good size stone. I think this is like an 8-inch stone. You want to have a nice size stone that you have ample room to work the edge. Those little bitty sharpening stones that come in like the $39.99, like you know, survival knives or whatever, that little stone is like almost useless to sharpen with. It's also typically a really rough grain. It's not a fine grain sharpening stone. So I don't really like using those. I've never had great luck with them. I've been sharpening knives with a full-size stone like this for many years, and like to the point where like my buddies, like they used to like pay me to sharpen their knives for them. So I really like using that full-size stone just because like I have maximum room to work the nuances of that edge back and forth, and this will also work for larger knives too. Like I have this Buck Model 119, I can actually use this stone for this too, and even bigger knives too. Like I sharpen my wife's kitchen knives on my stone, and that's one of the reasons why I like to use olive oil instead of something synthetic, just because like it's okay to consume olive oil. People cook with it, so. And that gives me just enough lubricity on the surface of the stone too, to where I can work that edge. So have a good stone, and one of the other big takeaways, just get that the top surface of that sharpening area, get that evenly lubricated with that olive oil, kind of push it around to like the entire surface of the sharpening edge. And then one of the other big takeaways again was finding your angle. Make sure you get the right angle. Just kind of put firm pressure into the knife and kind of tilt it back and forth until you kind of feel where that angle is. And then little circles. I like to do little circles back and forth just like that to do my polishing. That's kind of how I polish my main edge into place. And then how I get my final cutting edge is I just like to lightly drag it back and forth across the stone. I've seen some people drag the knife backwards, just like that. I haven't had as much luck with that on getting like literally a razor's edge to where like I can slice through a piece of paper or shave hair with it. I can't quite get it sharp enough doing that way. The only time I've had a good luck kind of going or dragging the knife backwards is in stropping, when you use a leather strop to do the final polishing. I don't necessarily always even need to use a strap. Sometimes I'll use a strap just for edge maintenance. For instance, I have one out in my garage, and sometimes I'll pull my my EDC knife out and strap it a couple of times. Or like if let's say it's the weekend and I'm walking around with more of a utility knife, a fixed blade utility knife outside the waistband, I might pull my utility knife out and just hit that strap a few times just to kind of get that edge maintenance going. You know what I mean? Because it's basically with knives, it's not that it's either sharp or it's not. It's not like a light switch. It's more like a rheostat. You know what I mean? It's like pretty sharp, it's sharp. It's not quite as sharp as it used to be. It's starting to get dull, and then it's like dull. You know what I mean? It's not a light switch. It's more of like a rheostat as far as the sharpness of your knife. and sometimes a little bit of quick edge maintenance, just like, you know, hitting a leather strop or something like that. Sometimes that's just like kind of what the doctor ordered, as far as like kind of putting that razor's edge back on your knife before you need to go like full-blown sharpening mode again. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things. And until next time, guys, train hard and carry your gun. And knives. Knives are good. See you guys.